deck, just to see what our card is today. So today our card says, my days are filled with mindful moments. My days are filled with mindful moments. So if at any point your mind begins to wander throughout our practice, you can come back to remembering that your days are filled with these mindful moments. You can open your eyes and look around, whatever it is that's going to bring a little bit of joy. So sitting tall, we're going to root through our tailbone, our sits bones, coming up the spine, reaching all the way up to the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Let's begin to roll our shoulders up and back. Just starting to loosen up those shoulders. Remembering to breathe. And then rotate the opposite way, bringing them forward. I like to do chicken wings here because my arms get a little stiff. And then you can release the arms down, shake them out. And we're gonna go into something called the lotus flow. And I'm gonna go through it one time and it's gonna be nice and slow. And then we'll go through a couple more times quicker. So when you're comfortable seat, you're gonna have your hands together at heart center. And then as you inhale, you're gonna open up your lotus, spread those fingers wide. As you start to lift your arms just as high as it feels good for your shoulders, pressing out the chest and lifting your gaze. And on the exhale, bring the hands back together as you bring the hands to the heart, rounding the back and dropping the chin. Inhale, another lift up, growing your lotus towards the sky. And exhale, hands together, rounding the back and dropping the chin. Inhale, lifting up, raising the gaze, just as high as it feels good for your arms. No need to force too far. And exhale, hands back, rounding the back. And one more inhale, growing your lotus up towards the sky. And on this exhale, bring the hands out to cactus arms. Arms do not have to be all the way back if that doesn't feel good. You can also drop the elbows a little bit more to find like a W if that feels better on your shoulders. And we're gonna move into a clap. And before we move into the clap, I'm gonna say, your hands do not have to reach. Mine don't touch when I do this from side to side. So take a nice full inhale. And on your exhale, clap the hands together. Inhale, back to center. And exhale, over to the right. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, over to the left. Inhale, center. And exhale, over to the other side. Inhale, center. And exhale, drop the left hand down to your side, coming into a side stretch. So that top arm can rest on your shoulder like a teapot. You can find your cactus arms. Or if you can, extend that arm all the way over, and then you can bring the gaze down if that feels good on your neck. Really notice that stretch in the side body here. And then inhale, coming back to center, cactus arms. And exhale, dropping the hand on the other side, and then finding what arm variation is going to feel good for you on this side. Our bodies vary so much from side to side, so make sure you're meeting yourself where you are today. See if you can do that without any judgment. I know that that can be a hard thing sometimes. Inhale, back to center, cactus arms, and exhale, release. Shake out the arms. You can roll the shoulders a couple of times if that feels good. We're going to go through 2 more times, a little bit quicker. So bringing your hands back to heart center, and it's going to be 1 breath per movement. So it is a seated vinyasa, breath to movement. Inhale, lifting the gaze, raising the hands. Exhale, rounding the back, dropping the chin. Inhale, lifting your lotus. And exhale, rounding the back. Inhale, lift your lotus up towards the sky as you press out the chest. Exhale, hands down around the back. 1 more inhale, growing your lotus wide up. And exhale, coming to your cactus arms. Take a nice inhale here. And on your exhale, clap over to the left. Inhale, center. And exhale, over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, over to the right. Inhale, center. And on your exhale, drop the left hand, finding that nice side stretch. We're going to hold here for a couple of breaths. Bring the gaze down to your hands if that feels better for your neck. And if you want, you can walk those bottom fingertips out to really allow yourself to dip into that side stretch. Inhale, coming back to center. And exhale, other side. Yeah, really feel that side stretch. It might even stretch into the armpit and the shoulders. Coming back to center, cactus arms. And exhale, release. One more time, but this time we're going to switch our legs so we can even out the hips. It's going to be the funky side, so you probably feel a little off. You might need to fix that blanket underneath your butt. And then bringing your hands to heart center. Inhale, grow your lotus up as you press out the chest and belly. Exhale, bringing the hands back down, rounding the back and dropping the chin. Inhale, growing up. Exhale, rounding the back. Inhale, lifting the gaze, lifting the hands. And exhale, round the back. One more inhale, grow your lotus up. And exhale, coming to your cactus arms. Take a nice inhale here. And exhale, clapping over to the left. Inhale to center. Clap over to the right. Inhale, center. Clap over to the left. Inhale, center, and exhale one more time over to the right. Inhale, center, and exhale, dropping the left hand, finding your side stretch, and see if you still want to use that same arm. It's completely up to you. And then coming back to center, cactus arms. Exhale, dropping the other hand over. And inhale, back to center, cactus arms. Exhale and release. You can roll those shoulders out a couple of times. And then this time we're going to inhale the arms up just as high as they go. And exhale, hinge at the hips as you start to walk your fingertips out in front of you, hinging at the hips so that you feel a nice stretch in that lower back. Gaze can be down at the floor. And then start to walk your fingertips over to the left, finding another nice juicy side stretch. And then begin to walk back to center, moving through center over to the other side. And then coming back to center. And start to walk those fingertips back towards the shins. And we're going to crisscross the other way one more time just so we really stretch out those hips. And when you hinge at the hips as we bend over, notice that diamond of right here in the lower back. This is a spot that's very hard for us to stretch. So this is a great stretch to really get movement in that lower back where we tend to have a lot of lower back pain. So inhale, arms up. And exhale, hinging at the hips. I forgot to crisscross the other way. Walk those fingers out. And then start to walk your fingertips over to the left. Notice if it feels any different with your legs crossed the opposite way. And then start to walk back to center as you move through center, coming over to the other side. And then walking back to center, feeling the stretch once more as you're hinging at the hips, and then start to walk your fingertips back towards the shins. All right, we're gonna go into a staff pose here. So extend your legs out in front of you. Soles of the feet are flexed, toes pointed up towards the ceiling. And this might be it for you. You might just sit right here. I feel this a lot in the backs of my legs. I have very tight hamstrings. If you'd like, you can start to hinge just a little bit at the hips until you feel that gentle stretch. We're not gonna hold here for a long time, so don't worry. It's just a nice stretch to move the backs of the legs, or to stretch the backs of the legs. And if you're hinging, start to come back to your seat. And we're gonna move into now a little bit of a lymphatic massage into the legs. So if your legs are right next to each other, you can spread them out a little bit. And you can relax the toes, you can point and flex the feet if that feels good. And then take your fingertips starting at the left ankle and start to gently drag your fingertips from the ankles up towards the thighs. When we do a lymphatic massage, it's like dry brushing. I don't know if you've ever done dry brushing, but you don't need to use a lot of pressure because those lymph nodes, the capillaries, everything that moves that lymph fluid, or when your fingertips move the lymph fluid, it's all really close to the surface. So you don't need to dig the fingers in. And then bring the hands to the outsides of the legs. You can bend the knee too if this is like a big reach. Gently dragging up towards the hip crease and then paying attention to the back of the leg. And behind the knee, we have a lot of lymph nodes. So if you want to massage behind the knee, a lot of people, not a lot, but I know of people who have had ovarian surgery and lymph nodes removed in the groin area, and they practice this to try and avoid or help lymphedema. So you can then massage into the groin area, just stimulating those lymph nodes so that our lymphatic fluid is going to flow freely. Our immune system can do its job and fight all that nasty stuff. And then moving over to the other side, reaching from the ankle, grabbing, dragging all the way up. A couple of times, you want to do about 2 or 3 times in each area. And then moving to the outside of the legs and the inside. And then behind the leg, giving a little massage to the back of the knee. The crazy thing about our lymphatic system is there's absolutely no pump to move the fluid through your body. So it's up to you through movement, through breath, inversions, and things like that, massage the groin, to get that lymphatic fluid moving through your body. So if you've had breast surgery or any other surgeries where they've removed lymph nodes, you want to keep that lymphatic fluid moving. And while we're here, since we're sitting, let's do the arms. So you can extend one arm out and just gently drag those fingers a few times on the inside of the arm and the top of the arm and underneath the arm. And then massage into that armpit area where we have those lymph nodes. Be careful if you've had surgery. Personally, I cannot feel this armpit, so it's just kind of like a poke and prod. And then going over to the other side, gently drag those fingers across. And then under. All around. And then massage that armpit. All right, shake out those shoulders and we're going to move into a tabletop position. So however you want to find yourself in a tabletop position, if you're on a hard ground, you might want to place a blanket underneath your knees to give yourself some cushion. And then if you have limited range of motion and if you have blocks or books, you always have the option of placing those under your hands if that feels better for your body. You do not have to do it, it's just an option. And then find your shoulders stacked over the wrists, hips over the knees, and finding a neutral tabletop position where your spine has like that natural dip in the lower back. You're not dropping the belly, you're not rounding yet. Just a neutral spine. Gaze can stay down in between your hands. And then we'll do a couple of cat-cows. So inhale, drop your belly to cow, lifting the gaze. Exhale, rounding the back and bringing the chin towards the chest. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. And exhale, rounding the back. This is just like what we did in our seated vinyasa, but this time in a tabletop. All right, back at a neutral spine. We're going to inhale the left leg back, keeping the toes on the mat, and just start to rock gently forward and back, spreading the toes, stretching the back of the right leg. If you've been through treatment and you have neuropathy, this can help with neuropathy on the bottom of the feet and the toes. And then coming back to center, keeping that right leg extended, begin to lift it up with a flexed foot. And on your next exhale, bring it over to the left side of your body, off of the mat most likely, and bring the gaze over to look at that foot, going into a nice juicy side stretch. If it feels like it's too much on your neck, you can always keep the gaze down. And then inhale, bringing the leg back to center. Exhale, bend the knee, coming back to your tabletop. And feel free to move through a couple of cat-cows if that feels good for you. We're really moving our spine in a whole 360 degrees, so any movement might feel good here. Inhale, lifting the left leg up, placing those left toes back, stretching the back of the left leg. And this time you can rock forward and back, spreading the toes, stretching the arch of the foot. And then coming back to center. Inhale, lift the left leg, and exhale, bring it over to the right. Option to look over your right shoulder, looking at that heel as you find the side stretch on the other side of your body. And then inhale, lifting the left leg, bringing it back over to center, and exhale, dropping the knee. Walk your knees out wide, big toes together, and allow yourself to press back to find a child's pose for a couple of breaths. If it feels like it's a big drop from your head to the ground, if you have a block, you can place a block underneath your forehead or even a pillow. And take a moment here to find your breath. Come back to this mindful moment. Sometimes if you're able to connect the forehead right in between the eyebrows with the ground or with a prop of some sort, it can help to trigger your relaxation response. So if you want to rock your forehead from side to side to help massage that place, you can also do that. And then begin to press your way back up to find your comfortable tabletop position for only a moment, as we're going to start to transition our way up to standing. So if you have a couple of blocks, you can place your hands on blocks as you bring one leg forward, coming to a lunge position, or you can use this with your hands, curling the back toes, as you gently start to come to somewhat of a forward fold. If you know that you're a person who gets dizzy, try and keep your head up a little bit. Hands can come to the hips as you bring the back up, coming to your standing position. Take a moment here. You can wiggle around, move your legs, move the props from your mat if they're in your way, and just shake it out for a couple of moments here. All right. So we're going to go into a mountain pose. Balance poses and standing poses are really important because they help us, number one, work on our balance, but number two, standing poses make our bones stronger. They help us build bone strength. So if you've ever gone through any treatments, some of our bones might be fragile. This will help build that bone strength. So rock a couple of times forward and back, spreading the toes, rooting into the feet, finding connection with all of the edges of your feet, and then coming to your mountain pose, palms facing forward, roll the shoulders up and back. And it might feel like nothing, but this is something that you are working on your posture, your breath, your balance, and strength. If you have blocks, take a moment. You might want to place those in front of you as we move through a couple of half sun salutations. If not, feel free to move with me as you inhale, arms up over the head just as high as they feel good. Exhale, hinge at the hips, coming forward, reaching for those blocks or for the mat. You can have a micro bend in the knees if that feels good. And then inhale, half lift, flattening the back. Hands can come to the shins. Exhale, forward fold, reaching for the ground or those blocks again. And inhale, sweeping the arms up and over the head. And exhale, hands to heart center. This is another way to get that lymphatic fluid moving and also get our heart pumping. So we'll go through a couple more times, a little bit quicker. Inhale, arms up over the head. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold, coming down to the mat of your blocks. Inhale, half lift, hands to the shins, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, sweeping the arms up over the head. And exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms up. This is our last one. Exhale, hinge at the hips, reaching forward, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, hands to the shins. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, sweep the arms up and over the head. Exhale, hands to heart center. You can release the hands, walk the feet out a little bit, not much wider, but wider than your hips. Toes are still pointing towards me. Unless it's really uncomfortable on your knees, you can keep a little bit of a rotation in the heels. And we're gonna go into a little bit of a warrior flow. So first, standing here, notice how strong you feel with your hands on your hips. They call this, I believe it's the Wonder Woman pose, right? So we're still in a standing pose. We're still in a balancing pose. We're still building our strength. And then we're also getting a little cocky because we can. So we're gonna just stand here, broaden the chest, broaden the shoulders, feel that strength within you. All right, and then rotate those left toes forward. So your right toes are still facing me. Left toes are now facing the short edge of your mat. Inhale, arms are gonna come up parallel with the mat, or you can find your W arms if that feels better, and then start to bring a bend into that front knee. You wanna make sure that the knee doesn't go too far over the ankle, so if it feels like you're really bending into it, walk those toes out a little bit more. You can have a nice juicy bend if that feels good. Gaze over the front fingers. This is your warrior two. Continuing to build your strength here and your balance. Inhale, flip that top or that front hand so the palm is facing up. And then start to bring the hand up, finding your reverse warrior as the back hand drops a little bit down the back leg. Gaze can come up towards that top hand. Really feeling that stretch in the side body, the left side body. And then coming back to your warrior two, keeping that bend in the knee, gaze over the front fingers. Moving into extended side angle, bend the left elbow as you rest it on your thigh. Reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling. Gaze can be up or down if that feels better on your neck. But you're feeling that stretch in the thigh, the groin, but also in the side body. Inhale, press up, coming back to your warrior two. Press into that front leg, straighten the knee, rotate the toes forward, and you can release the arms down for a couple of breaths because I know that that is a lot in the arms sometimes. Also, you can shake out the knees too. And then when you're ready, come back to your wide-legged stance. Rotate, this time the right toes towards the edge of your mat. Inhale, arms up for those strong warrior two arms. So to bend into that front knee, you can walk out the toes if you need to get a little bit further so you're not going too far over the ankle. Feel that strength as you're still remaining tall and strong through the front and the back body. Gaze is over the front fingers. And then flip the front hand, start to bring it up towards the ceiling as you drop your back hand down the thigh, down the back of the leg. Inhale, coming back to your warrior two. And exhale, bend the right arm as you come to your thigh. Extended side angle, lifting up. The left arm as high as it feels good. Always the option to find your teapot arms too, if that feels better. And press into that front leg as you come back to your warrior two. Press into the front, the right leg, straighten the knee, walk the toes forward, and then walk the toes back to each other as you shake out the legs, shake out the arms. All right, so we're gonna go into our a real true standing balance as a tree pose. So if you need to have access to the wall or a chair or whatever, feel free to move your way there. If you have a block or a book or something that you'd like to use for extra support, you can also do that. So you want to find your mountain pose again. Let's get tall, strong, root through those toes, and we'll start standing on our right leg. So bend the left leg, keeping the toes on the mat for a moment, really rooting through that solid leg. Hands can be on your hips. And this right here with your toe pointed, heel towards your ankle, can be your tree pose. You are still working on balance. If you notice that you're wobbling, find something that's not moving and you can just lock your gaze on there and that'll help keep you stable. If you have a block, you can place your foot on a block to lift it up a little bit. You can bring the inside of your foot to your calf. If you're feeling super sassy today, you can bring it up to the inner thigh. Don't look at me if you're thinking that I'm not going to move. I won't be your good, your good thing to balance and focus on. And then if you're feeling super sassy, see if you want to grow those branches all the way up or stay where you are. And then exhale, release, shake it out, moving on to the other side. If you want to have that block next to you, you can. Finding your mountain pose, standing tall. And then start to press into that left leg as you bend the right knee, maybe finding your toes to the ground, ankle to the inside, or heel to the ankle, or lifting up, or coming all the way up to the inner thigh. Remember, don't look at me, look at something else. And then if you want to lift up those arms, grow those branches, we all have a much better side. I think this one's mine. I feel much sturdier here. Much more rooted and grounded, right? That's how we're supposed to feel. And exhale, release, shaking out the legs, shaking out the arms, moving any props that you might have in front of you. All right, real quick, let's walk the feet out like we were gonna start our warrior two again. Toes don't have to be pointed straight forward. It's okay if they rotate out a little bit. And then hands on the hips. And as you exhale, we're gonna hinge at the hips, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Option to reach for blocks or fingertips towards the ground. And then you can drop your head if that feels good. Once again, finding a nice juicy stretch in the backs of the legs. Make sure you're not pushing too far on your toes or too far back on your heels, but that you're finding a nice balance in the feet. Start to walk your hands over towards the left ankle. And then coming back to center as you walk over towards the other side. And then coming back to center. Bringing your hands back to your hips. A nice gentle bend in the knees as you start to come up with a flat back to your standing pose. That was some solid standing balances and stuff here. So we're going to make our way back down to the mat. If you would like, we can find our way down there in a malasana, like a yogi squat type thing. So keeping your legs out wide, toes pointed out, hands can come to heart center as you start to bend your knees, dropping your bottom towards the mat. If you're like, what? No, you can find any way that you want to get down to the mat. It's completely up to you. Feel free to drop those hands at any point to catch yourself as you come to your bottom. And now just that we're sitting down, it doesn't mean we're done doing the hard stuff. We're gonna go into a little bit more of a core workout here, building a little bit more strength as we find our way into our boat pose. So for a boat pose, I always like to pull the flesh of my bottom back so that it's easier for my sits bones to root into the ground. It also keeps me from doing this, which is something that I tend to do in yoga a lot, which is why I hated yoga for a long time, because I was like, I can't sit up. So for our boat, soles of the feet are gonna start on the mat, knees bent, sitting tall from your tailbone all the way up through the crown. And this might be your boat pose. Just sitting like this. And I don't say just, this is actually a lot. I feel it in my hips right now and in my core. If you want to lift up the legs a little bit, You can lift a couple of inches off the mat, keeping the shoulders broad, chest open. If you want to have some fun with it, you can start to tap your toes. Really working. And then release. Shake out the legs. All right, we're gonna do it one more time. We're gonna hold it a little bit longer this time, really working on that core. If at any point you hate me, number one, I apologize. Number two, you can place your hands behind you to support you. This is my favorite thing to do in boat pose. So we're gonna start with our feet on the mat, sitting tall, arms extended, or grabbing the backs of the legs, up to you. And start to lift those legs. You can do your toe taps. You can do straight legs if that feels good. I don't like it, I don't wanna do it. So maybe I'm gonna rest on my hands and do some toe taps. Building strength in the abdominal muscles and the hips, the legs. Couple more breaths here. And exhale, release. Oh my gosh, I feel it. So if you want to shake out the legs, give them a little bit of a wiggle. Maybe you do some of those seated cat-cows that we did during our lotus flow, but just put up the hands. All right, you've earned it. We're going to start to make our way down. So if you have a blanket, you might want to place it underneath your head. Give yourself about 1/4 of a roll underneath the neck space, so it fills that spot where our head tends to just kind of drop. And keeping the feet on the mat for a moment, walk the feet out and drop the knees in towards each other. This is actually called constructive rest. So it feels like you're kind of just hanging out, but hanging out is my favorite thing to do. So just take a moment here to come back to your breath. We kind of jumped into our practice today. So this is a moment for us to connect with our breath, connect with our body, connect with that heartbeat. And then start to walk the feet back in towards each other. And this time you can extend the left leg out as you bring the right knee into your chest and give yourself a hug. Rotate the ankle, stretching into the hip, and then rotate the ankle to the other side. And exhale, release the right knee, bringing the left knee in. This is our half wind relieving pose. So rotate the ankle one direction. And then over to the other side. And then exhale, release the left leg out to meet the right. You can give the legs a little bit of a shake. And then we're gonna move into our reclined twist. So it's still a mellow pose. Rotate onto your right hip. If you have a pillow that you wanna place in between your knees or underneath your knees to bring the earth a little bit closer to your body, you can do this. But we're gonna find ourselves on our right hip, or any hip that you want to start on, or however you can see me first. And you're going to stack the hands, stack the knees. I like to call this your Paula Abdul clap, because you know she did this a lot. And you're stacking your hands. And on your next inhale, start to gently drag those fingertips across the chest, across the inside of the arm and across the chest as you open up your arms to a T position, or you can drop those arms a little bit lower. Trying to keep the knees over to the side you started, at the same time, rooting those shoulder blades down into your mat, allowing the chest to shine up. We're rotating the spine, we're opening up the chest. And then see if you can allow the ribs to begin to soften into the body. Option to keep your gaze up towards the ceiling, Or if you'd like a little bit more rotation, see what it feels like to turn your neck facing the opposite direction of your knees. And then start to bring your gaze back to center, followed by your hands as you come back to the side that you started on your hip. And then option to hold here for a breath or two before you start to make your way over to the other side. So if you'd like to bring your props over with you, you can rotate on your back, stacking the hips and stacking the hands on the opposite side. Finding your pala hands as you start to drag that top arm across the inside of the bottom arm, across the chest, opening up the chest, finding your T-arms. Notice if this side of your body feels any different and make the adjustments as needed. And then option to keep your gaze up to center or bring it over the opposite shoulder. Coming back to that breath. Allowing the breath to soften the muscles of the ribs. Allow yourself to sink into the spinal twist a little deeper. And then gently begin to bring your gaze back to center. Start to stack the hands back over onto your side. And you can hold here on your side for as long as you'd like. And then when you're ready, move on to your back as we start to set up for our final pose of the evening, as we set up for our Shavasana. Now that can look like anything that feels comfortable for you. You might want to place a pillow or a rolled blanket underneath your knees. Another fantastic option is if you have an extra blanket, you can lay a blanket on top of you. So not only is it going to keep you warm if it's cold, but that little bit of extra weight can help you feel grounded and safe and secure. Remember, this mat is like your little bit of sanctuary. It's your safe space. Allow yourself to move around so that you're comfortable, completely supported in your safe space. And then once you find yourself in a comfortable position, see if you can make yourself about 8% more comfortable. What can you do to make yourself 8% more comfortable? And then begin to bring your awareness to your breath. Begin to bring your awareness to your breath as you start to notice if that breath has changed at all from when we first started to pay attention to it. Start to notice your body. Notice the points where your body is resting. And then I'm going to ask you to start to visualize, starting at the bottom of your feet. Begin to visualize a beautiful orb of healing light that starts to tickle the bottoms of your feet. And this light can be whatever color you like, whatever your favorite color is, or whatever the first color that comes to your mind. Imagine that glowing orb of light hovering around the bottoms of your feet. And with your next inhale, that light begins to enter through the soles of your feet. And it starts to radiate out into the toes. And you can feel that this light is beginning to heal your body. It's easing areas of tension. You could feel it softening areas of pain. And you begin to follow that healing light as it starts to make its way from your feet into the ankles, moving into the lower legs and into the knees. Feel the warmth of that light as it travels into the thighs, the hips, the glutes and the lower back, all the way around to the low belly and the pelvis. Start to notice that light as it makes its way into the belly and into the chest, from the lower back all the way up to the shoulder blades. Begin to move into the shoulders. You feel that light radiating down into the arms, filling each palm, moving into every finger. Continue the journey with the light as it moves into the throat and the back of the neck, into the base of the skull and the back of the head. And as your light moves into the face, you feel your jaw soften and the tongue fall from the roof of the mouth. The cheeks begin to relax. The muscles around the eyes begin to soften. You feel the light as it enters into the space between your eyebrows and into the forehead as your face completely begins to relax. And then only when you are ready, for the next few moments, allow yourself to sink into the stillness. And gently begin to bring your awareness back to your breath, and back to your space. You can begin to bring your awareness back to your body as you wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can roll the wrists and the ankles. And then taking your time, gently roll over to your favorite side and hold yourself in a fetal position for a breath or two. You can keep your eyes closed here. And then only when you're ready, you can press into your top hand to lift your body up, finding your comfortable seat. Whatever that comfortable seat might look like for you, you can keep your eyes closed or find a soft gaze looking down. And I wanted to read something real quick for us. Just a daily reminder here. Difficult times do not define you. They develop your strength and they hone your resilience. Even in the worst of times, there is always a way forward. But you first must decide that you are more than your struggles. When you do, you will become wiser and more self-aware because of your experiences, not in spite of them. You will also learn that you are so much more than any of your differences. So here, if you'd like to leave your hands on your knees, you can do so, palms down for grounding, palms up for receiving. You can bring your hands together at heart center. I truly want to thank you all for showing up here tonight and taking this time to focus on yourself, your well-being, your health, and your healing. And the light in me honors the light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was amazing.
I feel like I really powered through that. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure you got a lot in our time.
I didn't think that you powered